All right, 8th grade, worksheet 61 will be faster. I'm sure we'll work through this a lot easier, in part because the directions now are related to gerunds, okay? Gerunds are verb forms ending in ing, which perform noun functions. And you'll remember, we've talked about this a fair amount in class. I would draw this tree in class, and I would point out the fact that ing forms can come in a variety of different ways, ing forms. They can come in a normal main verb, a finite verb like we discussed last time, right? Or they can come over here in one of the verbals, okay? In this case, we're going to call it the, we'll go ahead and say the participle is a verbal adjective. We'll do the participle, okay? VA for verbal adjective. And then, like I said, any adjective can appear in what 3 positions, right? And we know those 3 positions are attributive, like the red dog, and then the predicate, like the dog is red, and then substantive, which is actually functioning as a noun, like we'll adopt the red, right? Do you like the gray or the red? We'll adopt the red. That would now be taking the place of a noun. So an ing form, a verb at root, can take on the ing and become a verbal adjective. But like any adjective, it can appear in these positions, these uses, but one of its uses is as a noun. So yes, when we look at gerunds, we are looking at what at base was a verb, became an adjective, became a noun, okay? And is used as a noun that way. And we'll see that in these sentences, okay? We tried skating, but it was too difficult. Real straightforward there. Got ourselves a nice verb. Tried, who tried, we tried, subject pronoun, we tried what? We tried skating, direct object. You can see that one real nice. Skating has taken on the ing form. We could use it, of course, as a verbal adjective, a participle. Think about how we could say the skating rink, a rink designed for skating. It's clear, that's obvious. That's an attributive use of a verbal adjective, a participle, okay? But now that it's being used as a noun, it's in a noun place. It's showing you as an English speaker a noun entity, a thing, a total action of skating, an event of skating. We tried skating, but it was too difficult. Notice here even the pronoun it, I'll use a dotted line because I'm just drawing extra stuff here now, but its referent, the thing to which this pronoun points for its meaning, is this noun, skating, right? But it was too difficult. So this is a gerund. It is being used as a noun. Its function is the direct object. Now up here we are asked to identify all noun functions. So that does mean we need to do that for this clause. Subject pronoun, it, linking verb, was too difficult. That's simply a predicate adjective, so this is the only one there in that second half. He went out for wrestling. I don't know why they did this to you here. They've got a verbal particle. So went out, who or what went out? He went out, and then we've got a prepositional phrase for wrestling, so we've got an object of the preposition. That is what we were asked to do. Identify all noun functions, okay, that kind of thing. Notice in this case, ing is added, okay? Wrestle is a verb. Ing could be added. Wrestling team would be a verbal adjective, a participle. For wrestling, that is now the substantive use. It's a gerund. It's become a noun in this particular case. I mentioned this thing, a verbal particle. Went out, right? To go out for something doesn't mean quite the same thing as simply to go, right? This doesn't mean he went out means something different than he went. He went out, when you add that particle, actually, you change the actual dictionary definition. To say, I went out for wrestling means I tried out for the team. I put my abilities on display to try to make the competitive wrestling team. That's totally different than saying something like, I went. That just simply, of course, that verb means I departed. I left the building, something along those lines. So actually, those verbal particles there can have the ability to change the whole verb meaning. This can be troublesome because we, writing teachers, still encourage you not to end a sentence with a preposition, okay? And so, is he someone you would go out with? Would be something like, Is he someone with whom you'd go out? That kind of thing. I know many people don't talk that way anymore. The hundreds of years of historical English writing still abide by that rule. It's tough. It's probably in the midst of a change. Maybe it'll be something that by the time, one or two more generations passes, it's completely normal and accepted. But that's not actually what's going on here. This is not a preposition. This is a particle attached to went in this case, because went out means something different than went does. There's a famous quip by Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill, he was the leader, the prime minister of Great Britain during the time of World War II. And someone once scolded him, he was a great speaker, for ending the sentence with a preposition. And he said, that is a mistake, up with which I shall not put. And actually, see, there were two prepositions there. One of them was actually a preposition, and one of them was acting as a verbal particle like this one. He should have said, ending the sentence with a preposition is a mistake with which I shall not put up. Because with was actually a preposition, and it should have been corrected. A mistake with which I shall not put up. Because, and actually you know this now, because you're a native English speaker, put up means something different than put. Put means like to take something and put it in place. Put up means to forbear, to hold back, to deal with it, to let it go. And so it's amazing, actually, by bolting onto the end of a verb, this particle can change its meaning. That's what's going on here. I don't know why they gave you this, frankly. It's very tricky. It's not something that's been discussed in Winston grammar up to this point, but there you go. Very fun, very interesting. You would not see a verbal particle on one of your tests. The dentist charges me $10 for a filling. For a filling. The dentist charges me $10 for a filling. So, verb charges, who or what charges, dentist charges. Okay, so we do need to identify all the noun functions. So there's our subject noun, the verbal action, me. He charges me $10 for a filling. So notice what's happening here. He charges $10 to me. We have here an indirect and a direct object. $10 in this case can be treated like a proper noun. Okay. Now, for a filling is a prepositional phrase, which leads us to see object of preposition. Now we've identified all the noun functions. We have a subject, noun, indirect and direct object, and an object of preposition. What's interesting about this one, of course, is that filling is the object of preposition, and it's an ing word. It is a gerund. It is a verb, which became a verbal adjective, which is now a verbal noun, functioning as a noun. The old man smokes cigars after eating. Okay, so smokes is our verb. Who or what smokes? The old man smokes. Man's the noun, subject noun. What does he smoke? He smokes cigars. Direct object. After is a preposition showing a relationship in space and time. In this particular case, it's showing a relationship in time. Therefore, eating is object of preposition, and once again, a gerund is that object of preposition. So special emphasis on the gerund and identify all noun functions. So make sure you go ahead and finish worksheet 61 and then come back here for the last video.